The WNBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. Sign up today with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your first pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code NBA SGPN. We're also brought to you by Royal Retros. Royal Retros has jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, and sweatshirts from all the old school teams that you love. Use promo code SGPN for 10% off your first order. That is promo code SGPN for 10% off at royalretros.com. Yes, sir. We are back with another edition of the WNBA Gambling Podcast and Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Know me, know the voice of the guys. Me, really real, villain real. Terrell Furman Jr. here at your service. I'm in a great mood. Boston Celtics let everyone down yet again tonight. Man, I just got to say, there were so many people that said Celtics first half minus 8.5 was a lot today. They said the Celtics minus 13.5 was a lot today, and they were down 12 points going into the fourth quarter. I don't have nothing else to say, actually. I think there's some people that are actually coming in and tuning in to this live, like as we're recording right now on YouTube, youtube.com/NBA Gambling Podcast. Check that out. And on X, you can look at it. Various X accounts at really real __ at Reichel Radio at SGPN NBA. I'm gonna save it for the morning. I don't want to tease. I'm not gonna give too much of a victory lap. I'll do it for the morning because I'll be back in the morning with the NBA Gambling Podcast. But I'm just gonna say, never in doubt. Scott Studio Reichel here. Scott, what's going on?
Scotty, beat me up.
Surprise.
Yeah, doing pretty well. Had fun going through the WNBA win totals the other day. Now we're going to go through some awards and for the actual outrights to win the entire league. So should be fun. This is going to be our last off-season episode, I believe, and then we got the season starting next week. So should be fun. Strap in. We got a lot of basketball left.
Absolutely. And it's going to be rather easy. Like, there's really, not a large market in the WNBA yet when it comes to awards. You really only have two. You have MVP and Rookie of the Year, and one may be locked up before it even starts. And then we have it, I think this year we can say that there is a closer of a gap for somebody else to be in the championship game. Not saying that they 100% will, but I think that there's a couple of teams that, they're going to have a nice opportunity. And so we're going to talk about all of that. But before we talk about, no freaking way. What? Daniel Gafford's going to the locker room?
Yeah, I just saw it. He went for a layup, and I think somebody smashed his finger. There's only 2 minutes left in the half, though. So I don't know if he's going to be out for that long, but it looked like somebody smashed his finger.
Please come back at half. I'm sitting on Gafford double-double. He only has 2 rebounds right now, though. He's got 10 points already. All right. Live sweats with the WNBA crew. All right. So, yeah, not really much. But before we get to all of that, we got to talk to you about the MLB Gambling Podcast, because if you're looking for some afternoon action randomly in the office, or maybe you're sitting at home, working at home, maybe you're watching the kids and you just, hey, random baseball coming on, who do I bet? Well, check out the MLB Gambling Podcast. They're for the hardcore baseball fans or just random degenerates around. So you can lock in, you can get good picks. Scott's up there. Scott can give you some picks. You have a whole crew of people. Malcolm, Lonte be up there. Dylan be up there. Am I forgetting anybody? I don't think so. Nah, I'm not forgetting nobody. All right. So make sure you tap in with the MLB Gambling Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Scott. Let's see here. I'll let you decide. Well, should we start with awards or should we start with championship?
I say we save title for last.
All right, so let's start with the awards, and we'll start with what is Okay, so how we're going to talk about Rookie of the Year is not going to be in a handicap of the actual Rookie of the Year award as if the odds are posted now. That is not what this is going to be, because as of right now, Caitlin Clark is minus 600 at some spots, minus 800 at others to win Rookie of the Year for very, 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 very glaringly obvious reasons. Now, if you are a skeptic, a hater, or you're just thinking, hey, what if she gets hurt? That is a possibility. Injury is a possibility. Any other reason, and she doesn't finish the season, she doesn't play a whole season, anything like that. Who's next up? Who is the next person, the next rookie that can go out there and have a really, really good season and potentially be Rookie of the Year? We've seen it happen before. Sabrina, first year, she had that ankle injury and she didn't end up. Was that the first year? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Or was that her second year? Yeah, that was her first year, right? Yeah, that was her first year. And Sabrina had an ankle injury and she didn't finish the year. So it's possible. But who's it going to be? We have, like I said, Caitlin Clark roaming at minus 600, minus 700, minus 800 around there. I've seen her in a bunch of shops looking at that. Cameron Brink is at 9-1. Rakia Jackson 31-1. Angel Reese 35-1. Aaliyah Edwards 40-1. JC Sheldon 60-1. Alyssa Pile 60-1. Marquisha Davis 100-1. I actually need to look at another book and see if I can find some more names, because I feel like that is a very, very short list. And the person that I'm looking for is actually not on the list at all. So, Scott, I'll toss it to you. If not Caitlin Clark, then who?
It's really tough to actually pick anybody, because I do want to ask you one general question. Do you think that the actual remainder of the WNBA rookie class has a lot of usual dumb WNBA like Rookie of the Year winners? Because you need good offensive numbers, simply put. And I'm not sure how deep this draft class is offensively, because a lot of the players up top, I think, are either in situations where they're not going to have an immediate role, or they're in a spot where they're a work in progress and they might have to develop as the season goes along. If I had to pick one person who I think can make some noise as a rookie, I think I would consider Aaliyah Edwards, because the Mystics are supposed to be horrible. And with Deladon being out, they might have to reinvent their entire front court. So I think Edwards might have an opportunity. She's a great rebounder, a lot of second chance points potentially. Angel Reese, maybe if she gets off to a good start with Cardoso being out, but I don't know if I trust her to immediately transition successfully into the league. I think that Aaliyah Edwards would be a choice that I think might be flying under the radar a bit because of how bad Washington's supposed to be. If she just comes in there and is able to get a lot of playing time, because it's a transition year for the Mystics, we've talked about it already, I think you're looking at Edwards as a solid player. She was kind of living in Becker's shadow for the last couple of years in women's college basketball. I think she's a good player. So if I had to pick one long shot option, I would consider Edwards out of the Mystics. You?
I wouldn't even really say she was living in Becker's shadow, because Becker's was out for a good amount of time. Like, she stepped up and everybody sees
she played a lot. But
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. In her college career, in the 4 years that she's played, she missed a whole season. That's a lot of time. So I mean, Aaliyah Edwards has shown, in that season and in seasons outside of that she's in that girl. Like, she's like that. So I like that Aaliyah Edwards pick. If anything were to happen to Caitlin Clark, then I like Aaliyah Edwards. I like Rakia Jackson at 31-1. I think that she could potentially lead the Sparks in scoring. So I feel like if you can lead a team in scoring, then you absolutely should be in the running for Rookie of the Year. And I just think that it's an amazing sweat regardless. Like, no matter what, Caitlin Clark, if she finishes the season, more than likely the voters are going to put, no matter what she does this season, she's probably going to win the award as long as she finishes. Like, I don't think that there's any other situation, unless she just looks god awful. But like, if she even looks just okay, she's gonna win the award. And so if she doesn't finish the season, and even if she is playing the season, I think it'd be a conversation, and you get a better price on Rakia Jackson, who, again, there are not a lot of scoring options on this Sparks team. We talked about that in our season preview. She is a two-way player, able to defend, able to score. She has the length, great wing. Like, she's able to score anywhere on the court. I think Rakia Jackson is a really good bet. at 31-1. I do like Angel Reese a little bit as well. I think that looking at the preseason, it kind of looks like she's adjusted and she's hey, I like my spots and she's going to pick her spots against certain players. And so maybe if she starts to play a few more bigs, she may have some issues, but I think that that's going to be interesting watching Angel Reese this year. The person that I would love to put a bet on that is nowhere on the odds board, and we have to really get the books together because I just feel like there's too many names missing. But Jaylen Brown for the Dallas Wings has all the opportunity of the world to be the second leading scorer for the Wings for a good majority of the season because Satu Sabali is out to begin the season. Arike, we know how Arike is going to do and how she's going to get down, but Jaylen Brown able to shoot the three, able to drive to the rim and score. She can go left, she can go right. Like Jaylen Brown is really, really good. Jaylen Brown might be the best person from Cal named Jaylen Brown. I mean, I don't know. I would, and that's where I'm like, this
Do you
rookie, I
think
think
she's going
this
to
rookie
start
class
day
is
one?
really, really good. Yes, she is. She's already starting. Yes,
I was going to say,
she's a
because
day one starter.
that's kind of a requirement if she's going to win the award. So that's one thing we got to talk about.
No, Michaela Onyeawede won it, and she wasn't a starter. She was coming off the bench, and she won the award.
But she was coming off the bench for how long in that season?
She was a good majority of the season. She was coming off the bench.
I thought she eventually got promoted because there were some injuries, or
I
she ended
mean,
up just being
eventually, but it wasn't like
Yeah, okay.
like if we did a game count, it wouldn't be majority of
that's
the
fair.
game. Like majority of the game, she was coming off the bench. You don't have to. The W is different. You don't have to. It's different levels, but it also depends on how the rest of the class is looking. And it's just that with the assumption that Caitlin is going to be the number one option on the Fever, and they're going to be scoring. They're giving her every opportunity to see. She's going to be playing all the time. It's just assumed that she's going to get it. But if she doesn't, it could go to somebody who has limited minutes coming off the bench that just has a really, really good production. So, let's see here. I think that's really it for me. But I really do like the Aaliyah Edwards pick, and I do like Rickea Jackson as well. I think I'm really, really looking forward to see Rickea Jackson, and we may be able to get ahead of her points prop because I just don't know who they're going to for a consistent scoring option in Los Angeles.
As far as I'm concerned, I think we agree though. If Clark reaches the actual,
If she ends the season, she's gonna get the award. It really doesn't matter what she puts up. Like it really doesn't. The voters are gonna vote her regardless.
Correct. We're going to talk about MVP in a little while because I know Clark has pretty short odds for that as well. But for her being minus 600 to win the Rookie of the Year, you can argue that's actually cheap in a way because the only way she doesn't get it really is if she just gets injured. So if you're fading injury, you're in a very good spot. Like if she was minus 1,000 or like even a little bit higher, I wouldn't even be that surprised. That's kind of how I look at it. I just think that she's starting off with such a massive advantage just based on the overall media treatment of her, that she is, I don't want to say a lock to win the award preseason because injuries happen, but as you said, if she finishes the season healthy, her odds of winning are probably like
the Indiana
80+%.
Fever won 13 games last season. They've had terrible years for the past decade?
Yeah.
And yeah, since 2012. So basically the past decade. And now here in 2024, without proving anything, they have 36 nationally televised games. There's no way she's not winning the award. This is truly an injury. This is an injury play. And you're just playing, hey, in case she gets injured, in case that, everybody builds up all this hype and we have to wait another season to really, really enjoy it. Then here are the odds. But
Yeah,
other
pretty
than
much.
that, can't really tell you too much.
But we both agree Caitlin's gonna win. We're just trying to think of who can pull this off in a doomsday scenario where she gets injured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. You can play their fantasy pick'em, selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, and assists. And plus, it doesn't have to be just NBA plays. You can put WNBA player props into your underdog entry. You can put golf. You can put MMA. You can put MLB. All of that You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. And they have their player versus player champions format launched in Florida. Make sure you sign up today with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderDogFantasy.com, promo code NBA SGPN. All right. MVP odds. This is going to be interesting. I think that because there are other names that we can consider, we'll do this backwards. And so, at what point do I want to start this list of reasonable? We could actually go pretty far. So, Ryan Howard, 75 to 1. Clea Copper, 65 to 1. Skylar Diggins Smith is 65 to 1. Aaliyah Boston is 55 to 1. Chelsea Gray is 48 to 1. And Enrique Gumawale is 48 to 1. Jackie Young is also 48 to 1. So, of that list, Jackie Young, Enrique Gumawale, Chelsea Gray, Leah Boston, Skylar Diggins Smith, Clea Copper, Ryan Howard. Long shot. Anybody tickle your fancy?
I mean, I'm tempted by Chelsea Gray, but the problem is she's, according to reputation, the third best player on her own team, which is like a serious problem because I think that Chelsea Gray is definitely good enough to be an MVP candidate. But
there's one person that believes Chelsea Gray is the best player on the team.
Yeah, I would put her second. I think she's better than Plum in my opinion, but I think that Asia is probably better than her if I had to rank them. So
I think everybody else in the world except for literally one person would agree that she's better than Chelsea Gray. Even Chelsea Gray.
Yeah. A point is, though, I do think Gray is tempting if there's an injury and she ends up carrying, but I don't see that happening. If I had to pick anybody out of that list, I don't think any of them are going to win it. Ogunbowale. I mean, if Dallas ends up with a solid record and she's averaging like 25 per game, there's a chance she puts up some monster numbers. Satu's going to be out. She's going to get the ultimate green light. There is a chance that if she's able to carry this team with Satu being out and she's averaging like 25 points per game, maybe even entering the All-Star break, she'll be on the short list. Now, do I think she's going to win it? No. I think she's a bit streaky, and I do think that her ups and downs are going to affect her shooting percentage, etc. But I do think if we're talking about a serious long shot who can put up monster numbers that are kind of undeniable in an award race, Ogunbowale is a bucket. I think if she averages 20-something with her best player being out, that will also add to the narrative if the Wings are serious contenders for potentially a 1 or a 2 seed in the conference. So I'll go with Ogunbowale if I had to pick one serious long shot out of that group. You?
I have two. I will take Skylar Diggins Smith at 65 to 1. By the way, 50 to 1 last year. Alyssa Thomas. We were there. So these might not be these might not be crazy long shots because last year Alyssa Thomas was 50 to 1 and we were all over that. So Skylar Diggins Smith 65 to 1. And the reason is one, a lot of pettiness. And we've seen Nafisa Collier come back and look amazing. She came back from pregnancy and looked amazing and looked really, really good. Skylar Diggins Smith's been prepping for this for like a year now. Like I think she's in really, really great shape. If you listen to the preseason game, you hear the pettiness of we finna get the Mercury for we with Skylar, you know, all of that. Like she's having a ball this season. She's so happy to be back, and I think that people are forgetting that Skylar Diggins Smith is really, really, really good at basketball. Really, really, really good at basketball, and so.
Can I bet her like minus 1,200 to win comeback player of the year instead?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's also, I feel like, is a lock of award. If we had the market, I think she should be the favorite. I can't think of anybody else.
She'd be a massive favorite.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else that would be. But Skylar Diggins Smith, 65 to 1. Aaliyah Boston at 55 to 1. And I think that the reason that I have Aaliyah Boston on the card is that I think that the world of possibility of her in year 2 actually can skyrocket with Caitlin Clark playing beside her.
Because she's always going to be on TV.
She's always going to be on TV. Caitlin prefers to defer. She actually likes getting her teammates involved. And I mean, who else better than Aaliyah Boston, who is already on the cusp of being a double-double machine. And we've seen her play really, really well. Now, the only part about that is that the Indiana Fever have to unleash her. And if they do the same thing as they did last year, where they just let her run wild for the first half and then absolutely decided not to look her way at all in the second half, then she's not. This is a non-starter before we even talk about it. But if they keep this going, if they allow Aaliyah Boston actually to really, really cook, and Caitlin Clark helps elevate her game, and then she elevates her own game defensively as well. Yeah, yeah, she's gonna be South Carolina Gamecock in MVP race. I mean and I think she's gonna be an MVP in this league eventually. So Aaliyah Boston, I think Aaliyah Boston is a pretty good bet at 55-1, and just saying that the world of possibility is open for her, and it's a 55-1 bet.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to push back a little bit, saying even if Boston does play well, all you're going to hear about is Caitlin Clark's gravity. Like, I feel like she's going to get credit for most of Boston's successes anyway. I just feel
Yeah,
like when it comes to
for more or less.
narratives, it's going to hurt Boston because they're going to say, well, you got Caitlin Clark on your team. Like,
But
I just feel like,
what I will say
sorry.
is, as big as Caitlin's fan base is, the South Carolina fan base is pretty substantial in comparison as well. And if Aaliyah, so how I see it in my head of what Aaliyah would have to do to get this award, one, is actually really, really insane. But if she does it, I think that even overshadows Caitlin Clark. Like, I don't think. And it's just because that the voters, while a lot of them really, really do love Caitlin Clark, they are, they've been women's basketball fans for a very, very long time. They've been voting on this for a while. And I just think that at one point talent is going to win out. And so if Aaliyah Boston, if this goes the way that I would forecast, I'm not saying that this is a lock of a bet or anything. I'm not locked into this like I was the AT 50-1 last year, but it's fun. It's fun to me. So yeah.
I just once again feel like they're just going to give Clark all the credit, no matter what happens with that team. So
Okay, he came back to the game.
the way that I look at it is that
Mhm.
I don't think Boston's going to win it. I think she'd have a great year, but I still think Clark's going to get all the credit for her. But any thoughts on Agumbawale? Because once again, with Satu being out, there is a greener light, and she already had a pretty green light. If she can carry
Uh,
that team to being a top 2, top 3 seed before Satu comes back and she's averaging 20 and change, I think she'll be in the running. I'm not picking her to win, but I think in reality, she can be in the running where these odds drastically plummet the further the season goes along.
Yeah, I think she'll be in the running, and I think these odds are going to plummet. I think all three of these odds will plummet as the season goes on, but I just don't think. I think that I don't know. I'm just not sold on Arike keeping it up. She's just very, very streaky at times,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm not sold on her keeping up the entire season. But she's going to be really good. Let's not take another away from her. All right, moving on. Oh, I should have added Kelsey Plum to that list because she was 41-1. Any
I
thoughts on
really wish
Kelsey Plum?
Chelsea Gray was going to be in the running for 1 year, but that's not going to happen until she leaves this team. Team's too stacked for her to get serious consideration. And it sucks. She's great.
Nafisa Collier is 28-1. Jewel Lloyd, 24-1. Sabrina Ionescu is 22-1. Nneka Agumake is 22-1. Brittany Griner is 18-1. And we're gonna stop it there.
So we got to at least talk about the odds for a second in this group, because there's no way in hell Brittany Griner should have lower odds than Jewel Lloyd. The amount of disrespect towards Jewel Lloyd is offensive. What's Seattle's win total again? Like 23 and a half, 24 and a half?
24.5. 24
And the Mist and the Mercury are like high teens, low 20s, I think. Mercury were 18 and a half, and the Storm were 24 and a half. Why is Brittany Griner lower than Jewel Lloyd? Jewel Lloyd's a monster. I know we're both going to be on Lloyd in this tier, but I understand Griner had the story. She came back from Russia. We all know about it, but there's no way that she should be lower than Jewel Lloyd. That's just insane pricing. There's no guarantee Griner's going to be able to make it through the entire season. Jewel Lloyd has been a bucket for her entire career, and now her team's good again. So, yeah, give me Jewel Lloyd. I'm assuming you agree.
Jewel Lloyd will never win MVP in this league, and I not have action on it.
Yeah.
What? Like, I don't even
You'll
care
have
if it's
action
not
on her to win
reasonable.
MVP every year.
I have, yeah, every single year. Now, she's also in a three-way tie for leading point scorer in the regular season at 4-1.
Who's she tied with?
So, what do you think?
If I had to guess, Asia and Caitlin.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take Lloyd in that one.
You know who Lloyd is? Yeah, Lloyd there. Arike is plus 550 in that department.
Okay. Ties into my MVP thing. If Arike hypothetically leads, then maybe she has a shot. Same thing with Lloyd. If Seattle ends up winning 20-something games and change, and she ends up averaging like 24, 25, and she just has a monster season, it's going to be tough to ignore because Seattle's going to be that good. So, yeah.
Quietly, Nafisa Collier is interesting at 28-1 in the MVP market, but I don't think that the links are going to be good enough. Sabrina is always interesting at 22-1, but I think that there has to be a point where we in New York let her just go ahead and take the reins and be the focal point of the team. And I don't think that day is here yet.
I hate the way that she's used. I understand that Brianna won MVP last year, but Ionescu has so many quarters of just roaming off ball, doing nothing. And I just don't understand it, but that's why we're going to be anti-Ionescu for this award. There's too many moments in the offense where she is just phased out by the coaching staff for some reason. And as a result, she has a lot of lackluster games that are not really her fault, but the coaches don't actively get her involved. That's one thing we've noticed over the last year or two.
Landon, I didn't see your comment in the chat earlier. There is not a game requirement for number of games played in the W. Skrillex is in the chat as well. He's on. Oh, we're going to talk about that in just a second. And I was also not on NECA in this tier. Nothing against NECA, but it was all of Jewel Lloyd disrespect because Jewel Lloyd should definitely be the best odds on this team for MVP. Absolutely. Like, I don't care who came to the team. Jewel Lloyd should have the best odds. So
what do you say
it's only Jewel Lloyd.
What do you say her odds were again?
Jewel Lloyd is 24-1. NECA's 22-1.
I mean, she won All-Star Game MVP, right? I know it's an All-Star Game, but the point is she's clearly a top 5, top 10 talent in the league. So the odds conceptually don't make any sense.
Scoring and leading the league in scoring is not enough for them. It's not enough. They've already gone on the record, and the goalpost has moved where that's not enough for you to win MVP. So, sigh. I don't know why I put myself through this every year, but I will continue because if it happens, I'm gonna be so pissed if I missed out on it. This is my favorite player in the league. Like, come on.
If we're talking about long shots, I don't think typically many long shots win the award for MVP in the WNBA. I feel like it's pretty top heavy, historically speaking. Like Asia, for example, was a big favorite. Brianna was a big favorite. It's going to be usually the superstars. You want one player who is kind of an under the radar superstar who can definitely go blow for blow with some of these other star players if they match up at the end of the year on the stat sheet.
And that's how we got Alyssa Thomas. That's exactly how we got Alyssa Thomas. Everybody, it was like last year, nobody knew who Alyssa Thomas was. She was 50-1 at the beginning of the season. And I thought it was crazy because I thought that there was a chance that she could average a triple-double for a season. And sure enough, she averaged like 16, 11, 12, and 8 or something like 9
she was
or something like that.
Closer than any other player has ever gotten in the WNBA.
Yeah, like, so look for those players. Look for those players if you want long shots, but it is normally top heavy for sure. All right. And here's the top tier. And we have a rookie in the top tier. Alyssa Thomas is at 12-1. Caitlin Clark is at 10-1 to win the MVP award. Brianna Stewart is at plus 750. Asia Wilson is at even money to go back-to-back MVP awards. No, not back-to-back because Brianna Stewart won last year. She should have won last year, but whatever. All right. At least over Brianna. It should have been Alyssa Thomas. Then it should have been Asia, but it is what it is.
Just to be clear, to start off with something, we're tossing Brianna out, right? There's no chance she's winning after last year, correct?
No, I don't think she is. I would immediately toss her out. Okay, so here's the thing with Caitlin Clark. And I think for you to, like, this is a historical moment has to happen in the W for her to win this award. Because there's only one player in the history of this league that has ever won MVP as a rookie, and that's Candace Parker. So if you're looking for somebody to do something that literally in the, what is this, year 27 years of the league, only one person has done, 10-1 is not the price for it.
No.
It's not. It's not. And I truly, and honestly, if she wins MVP, It was dick riding.
I was going to say, do you think the voters will hold
It
it
was dick
against her?
riding. It is dick riding. No, they won't hold it against her. No, I think that they'll actually just go ahead and do it. Like, I think there's a better, like, I think it's more likely than not that they say, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it if she's somewhat close, rather than giving it to probably who's worthy. And because think about it, if Breonna Stewart gets voter fatigue, if Asia Wilson gets voter fatigue, now we have to convince and the media members who have been covering Caitlin Clark. I'm actually low-key kind of talking myself to Caitlin Clark 10-1, but we have to convince the media members that Alyssa Thomas is as good as we say she is, and we know that already. We know that already. I don't know, bro. I just feel like if it's something that's so historical that only one other person in the history of the league has done it, I want better than 10-1 odds.
I feel like a part of me, though, is thinking, since it's only happened one time, will the voters think to themselves, well, Caitlin's going to win multiple. We don't have to give her this one.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's going to be a thought process there.
I mean, it's just like, think of all the rookies that have come through and had great years and haven't been close. Like Candace, let me go back for the people because it's a lot of new listeners, and let's just read off what Candace Parker did her rookie year because it was insane.
I mean, the numbers are sick, but it comes down to your thoughts on Caitlin Clark, because you're trying to predict what the actual mindset's going to be of the voters. Do they give it to the rookie who's going to propel the WNBA into a certain stardom that they have probably never seen before, and do they just give it to her for that reason? Or B, do they hold it against her and say, well, she's a rookie, there are players that have been around the block a few times, they should get it now, and eventually Caitlin will get hers? I'm leaning more to B. Personally, I think that Clark, in the back of their minds, is going to win multiple MVPs. They'll give it to her when it's time. And I think this year they're not going to give it to her unless Indiana has a monster record. Like, if Indiana wins like 25 games, 24 games, then she might win it anyway. But if Indiana goes, let's just say, well, like 18-22, I don't think she's winning. I think they have to finish multiple games over 500. So I think record will play a factor in that. So I'm not going to talk about Caitlin Clark for MVP. If you want to take it, I understand it. You might hope for mob mentality and everyone just votes for her because of what she's meant to the league's growth. But I think I'd rather look elsewhere, personally.
All right. So we have Candace Parker's rookie year. Los Angeles Sparks went 20-14. They've ended up finishing up as runner-ups in the West. Candace Parker had 18. That's insane. 18.5 points at as a rookie. She had 18.5 points per game. It was 9.5 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists, 2.3 blocks. Wow. And 1.3 steals to add on to it. She was doing work on both ends of the court.
Yeah, she was an absolute monster.
She shot better than 50%. She shot 50-40, was it 90? I think she shot 92. No, she didn't. It was 73.
I don't think she got 90. I think she got 80.
Yeah, but it was 50-40. It's still pretty insane. Like, those are, but that, and because we have a lot of NBA fans that are crossing over, that's an amazing season. Averaging 18 at that point in 2008 was unheard of. Even now, 18 is hard.
In like Duncan. Just walked in, is like, oh, I'm just already the best power forward in the league. Like, all right, everyone out of my way.
And just dominated, and the reign of terror started there. Like, and so it's gonna take a little bit more. And it's really hard. It's still really hard. Only 9 people averaged better than 18.5 points last season. Satu Sabli, Kelsey Plum, Kalia Copper, Nneka Ogwumike, Arike Ogumawale, Nafisa Collier, who was 4th. Wow, holy shit. I didn't even realize that. She was 4th in scoring. Asia Wilson, Breonna Stewart, and we all know who was at the top of 24.5 and 24.7 points per game. Jewel motherfucking Lloyd. It's just too historic of a season for me to only get 10-1. Like, I just feel like I should get a better price than 10-1. I would definitely bet it. I really would bet it if I was getting a better price. But even if it was in the last tier, I think I would have bet it.
Yeah, I think if it was anything above probably 16-1, I would take it. But 10-1, I think is a bit too cheap. So based on potentially eliminating Clark from the equation, we both agreed on Stewart. I think Asia is a perfect candidate for a makeup award. You can argue it's either
Oh,
her or
what?
Alyssa Thomas.
How do we
But
not play Asia? How do we not play Asia at even money, man? Like,
my
I
argument
know
is
it's
because
even
it's
money,
even
but how
money.
do we not do that?
That's the counterpoint. Is do you ever want to actually take an
So do we
MVP
just wait?
candidate at even money?
I mean, it can't get better than even money, can it? We just wait, right? It can't get better than even money. And
I don't think
she
it's
can't
going to.
lay. Yeah, she's not gonna lay for the award. If anything, because this is what happened last year. She was significantly ahead of Breanna Stewart last year preseason, and then it came back down a little bit closer. And Breanna Stewart started playing better, and you got a better number live. I think we just wait for Asia live, but
Yeah, in hindsight,
Asia's gonna win the award.
I have no idea how Brianna won the award. Just full disclosure, I have no idea how she won the award. I thought she
We
was the
were all
worst out of
shocked.
the three
We
candidates.
were all shocked. We were all
Yeah,
shocked.
I thought she was the worst of all three candidates. But either way, the point is, who do you think's more likely to get a makeup award, Asia or Alyssa? Probably Asia because they've won back-to-back titles. She's the best player on the best team
Yep.
by a wide margin. The issue with Connecticut is, do enough people pay attention to Connecticut?
Yeah.
They're under the radar every year. And if we're talking about media exposure, Connecticut's really just not on TV enough for a team that's been a staple, a serious, you can argue maybe not a serious contender, but maybe a first team, second tier type of contender where they're going to make the conference semis every year or the conference finals every year. I mean, so Alyssa, I would pick. I just don't think they're going to give it to her because I don't think that
So
enough people are going to care about Connecticut, which is a problem.
I feel like my argument for her is the same argument against her, but she led in first place votes last year. The people see it. Like there's people that see it. We just got to get everybody else on. You led in first place votes. You had that was half the battle. Half the battle is winning first place votes. Now you just got a whole serve with second and third place. And the thing is, nobody gave her second place votes. They either gave her first place votes or they gave her third place votes, and that's what fucked it up. But if she had gotten just a few second place votes, she's MVP. We're cashing a 51 ticket and we're riding off into the sunset. So I think that this year the voting showed me that it's not impossible. So 12-1, okay, cool. It's not the same as last year, but cool. I'll take the 12-1, and then I'll go and I'll get a live number on Asia Wilson during the season. Maybe Caitlin Clark starts off really fast and the hype starts getting there. Maybe she has a really good first game and a whole bunch of people rush to go bet the award and they bring her up to what 5-1. And that brings Asia down to plus 250, 3-1, 150, whatever. Like whatever. I'm gonna take that because at the end of the day, I think that there has to be an injury for Asia not to win this award.
I agree. I think Asia's going to win it because the Aces are viewed, rightfully so, as the clear-cut best team in the league. I know we're Liberty fans, but it is what it is. You win two straight titles.
We're
That's
honest.
gonna
We're
happen.
very honest.
So in reality, Asia won Finals MVP last year. That was deserved. So she can add another MVP in the regular season to her trophy case. It's a great makeup candidate just because of what happened last year. So I do agree with you. I think I am going to take both losers of the award last year that probably should have had a better shot at winning it, Asia or Alyssa. I'll take both of them. I'll take Jewel Lloyd as well. So we actually overlap a lot on these. And my long shot will be Agumbawale. I don't think she's going to win the award, but with Satu being out, there's room for her to maybe make her presence known to the voters early in the season. But I think we basically agree on the main three.
Yeah, sure. Roy Retro's looking to prove that you know ball. What better way to showcase your fandom than getting some old school classic gear? You can get retro jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, sweatshirts, all that vintage gear from vintage sports leagues and teams and all of that. You can get it customized for you. I love the vintage NBA jersey, so you got to make sure you go get one of those. Use promo code SGPN for 10% off your order today. That's code SGPN at RoyalRetros.com for 10% off. All right, let's lock this up, Scott, and finish this. We have the championship odds. The Los Angeles Sparks are 100-1 to win the championship. The Washington Mystics are 85-1. The Chicago Sky 50-1. That's a lot. Hey man, it's a large jump from Los Angeles and the Mystics. There's that the people
And their
believe
win
in the
total is
Sky.
basically the same.
Oh man, that's just telling you. That's just telling you that over on the win total is a lock. All right, the Atlanta Dream and the Minnesota Lynx are both 45-1. The Phoenix Mercury are 30-1. Dallas Wings are 26-1. The Indiana Fever are 23-1. Connecticut Sun are 12-1. Seattle Storm are 10-1. And here we go. New York Liberty plus 230. Las Vegas Aces even money. So, if it's not the Aces and it's not the Liberty, because that's essentially where the two, I would say 90% of the money is going on those two teams.
Yeah.
Well, maybe less because Caitlin's in the league and people actually believe Indiana's going to be good. But if it's not those two, then who, Scott? Who?
As far as I'm concerned,
Indiana's
not winning this game.
themselves? No, they're not.
They can't guard
Who's
anybody. So
who's going to put themselves in the championship game? Let's not even say win it. Who has the chance? Because you have to beat both of these two teams to get it. That's going to be hard. To win the championship, you have to beat both of these two teams. But somebody might sneak one of them. Anything can happen in a series, man. Anything. So who puts themselves in the championship game and gives you a juicy ticket to either hedge or green up on in the championship?
I feel like just based on reputation, some people would argue Connecticut because they have a lot of experience. They've been around the block before, but I don't think they're good enough offensively. And that's been kind of an issue for them for the last couple of years. They pride themselves on defense, but for the last couple of years, it's been Thomas and Bonner. And then after that, good luck. You had John Quell, she left to the Liberty. That's the only time they made the finals recently. And have they really done anything since? Like in terms of threatening these top two teams? Not really, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not going to pick Connecticut. I don't think they're good enough offensively. I think I have to go with Seattle. I think people would make an argument for the Mercury because they have the reputation. They have Griner who's back. You ended up getting You end up losing Skyward Diggins, which is a big deal because we know how good she is. But I do think that Phoenix is a team that I don't trust. So by process of elimination, going down the line, I like Seattle a lot. They have a lot of players that I just think you can go to war with, and that's what you need. I feel like you have a lot of players that are not going to blink and get scared in big moments if you have an elimination game, maybe on the road, and you need your best effort. I think Seattle has a lot of players on that roster that are going to bring it in some big moments. I think Jewel Lloyd is a dog. We both agree. She's going to go down swinging with the best of them. So you have the closer you need. You have the supporting cast you need. You have some size. You have some depth. You have solid guard play. I think in Seattle, if I had to pick one dark horse candidate that's not the Aces or the Liberty, I think Seattle's going to be in the serious running to, worst case scenario, get to a deciding game against the Liberty if that was a series. I don't think they'd get run out of the building against the Aces or the Liberty. I think that would be a very contested series. Give me Seattle.
Scott, I want you to know that in addition to Jewel Lloyd, who we know is easily a 20-point per game scorer, NECA last season averaged 19.1.
Yeah.
That
NECA, they have all the offense they need.
NECA averaged 19.1. Guess what Skylar averaged her last season with the Mercury?
22.
19.7.
Okay.
2 20-point per game scores. In addition,
basically 3, on the entire roster. Like they
in addition, you have 3. They have the size with Easy Mabeggar down low to help them. Like this team quietly, not quietly because they made the moves. We know they're going to be good. If you tell me that there's a game 5 between either New York or the Aces and Seattle is involved, I think the gloves are off. I think the gloves are off. I got to take Seattle at 10-1 because if I have a 10-1 in the finals, I don't care if they're facing the Aces or if they're facing the Liberty. If I have a 10-1 in the finals, I feel pretty good about myself. There's a lot of options I have of what I can do with that ticket. So yes, Seattle at 10-1. That is going to be the if it's not the Aces, if it's not the Liberty, and because of me, I'm going to have a bet on the Liberty. It's Seattle 10-1.
Well, we've been pretty lockstep. I had for you is, would you actually want to bet on the Aces and the Liberty or just one of the two? Because to be honest, I'm not sure the Liberty are wired to win a title. we got to have a conversation about that later on in the year, but we saw the Aces, they were down a lot of players in that game
Mhm.
4. It was Asia by herself. The rest of the team was injured, and the Liberty lost on their home floor.
Mhm.
And that kind of stuck with me because I'm not sure if the Liberty are mentally tough enough to get through all that. We saw Brianna kind of no-show the entire series against the Storm. Not against Storm, sorry. I mean, against the Aces. Ionescu, we talked about before, is not as big of a focal point in the offense as she should be. Maybe it's the coaching staff, maybe it's the players, but doesn't
Mhm.
something, maybe it's a work in progress because that was their first year together and they had to grow. Does
Yeah.
it concern you at all that there was a little bit of, I'd say, a lack of mental toughness with that team for most of the season that we kind of noticed?
Not really. But it's just because it was year 1 and putting everybody together, and they were getting a buy on talent alone. Like, they were
Mhm.
getting by on talent alone. You have another offseason to work, you have another offseason to plan, you have another offseason to put it together, and you don't know how the year is gonna pull out, but at this point, it's now revenge season, and you know me, I'm a narrative better. I like the narrative, and that is a really, really good narrative of, "Hey, we were embarrassed on the biggest stage. We know we can get there. Everybody's expecting us to get there. Let's nut up and get there and let's go play this team again." And if they play them again, I I think they have a chance. Like, I think they have a chance. And so yeah, 230 is probably one of the better prices we're going to get for majority of the season, especially if they get out hot and they start out as good as I think they're going to start out. Then that price is going to get a little bit closer and a little bit closer and a little bit closer to the Aces. And then if I get the Aces at 2-1, I'll hop in on the Aces because the Aces should never be 2-1 to win the title ever.
No. Aces, I think, are a fair price. The Liberty, truth is, if they were playing the Storm in a series, I probably would take the Storm if I had to pick between the two of them. You could argue that Brianna and Jonquel would dominate on the boards, and that would be how the Liberty would get it done. There's something about that Storm team, that trio, that I just feel like I can trust in big games. They're all experienced. They all we know can get buckets. And I'm also just not the biggest fan of the Liberty's coach. I've talked about it before. I feel like she
You have.
can leave a lot to be desired on occasion. And even that Mystics series, they ended up winning that series, but that was competitive. And the Mystics were not very good last year. And a lot of those games came down to the wire. Then they won that series, clinch a game in overtime. I'm not a fan of the coach. And I think that's going to come back to bite the Liberty at some point. So if I had to pick two, I'd pick the Aces, obviously, but that's a given. And give me the Storm. I'm going to skip the Liberty, actually. I think the Liberty are going to win the title.
Okay. All right. Let's end this up, Scott. Here we go. One, if you had one play to make out of everything we talked about, I am going to say I kind of want to go back to that leading point score in the regular season.
Okay.
Now, if I eliminate bias, I truly don't think it's going to be Caitlin. I think
Okay.
Asia is a possibility, but I think Asia's just up there by reputation. You're kind of selling me on the Enrique tip because if Jewel does have now Skylar and NECA, and that's completely different from last season. I don't think she's gonna average 24.7 like she did last season, but she's still gonna be really good. I think I'm actually gonna take Enrique. I think you sold me on the possibility of Enrique being an MVP candidate, and there's another way to bet her. And I think the other way to bet her is leading point scorer in the regular season. No Satu for a little while. I like Jaylen Brown, but Enrique's been there, done that. She's gonna be carrying this team as she has. She's gonna get 20 plus shot attempts every game. Yeah, why not? If she gets going and she gets into a rhythm, yeah, sure. So you know what? You sold me. That's the play that I'm making. Arike Agumawale, top point scorer in the regular season, plus 550.
And we also know that Dallas plays up tempo. So they're just going to keep chucking as quickly as possible. So
Yep.
that helps out. But if I had to make one bet, of course, I'm trying to go for value. I'm not going to tell you like the Aces to win the title or Caitlin Clark minus 600. If I had to go with anybody or anything for my best bet, I think it is Seattle to win the title. I think 10-1 is a good deal. I think
It
it is.
is.
You can probably shop around and find a better line, but that team, I think, can be really, really good. And I know in the regular season, I did lean to their win total under. That is solely because I think that they realize they have more important things on the horizon. This team with that big three, I think, is built to go blow for blow against any team in the league. And I think that when you're looking at players who are not going to shy away in big moments, those three definitely won't. And I think when you're looking at, I see 14-1, by the way. You can shop around and find some seriously big lines on Seattle. I quickly want to do some shopping to see if I can find a better line. But the point is, Seattle, I just think, has the makeup. They have the experience. They have the overall talent, the scoring punch. Defensively, maybe they're going to need a little while to gel. And maybe they can make a trade or so in the middle of the season to work on that. But it just feels to me like it's being priced like there's two clearly best teams with the Liberty and the Aces at less than 3-1. Should Connecticut really be cheaper than Seattle? I just don't see that. Connecticut's been a team that's always been hanging around, but they just have not been able to get over the hump. And then John Quell left. I don't think Connecticut has enough of a scoring punch to truly get by and to finally make a title-winning run. And with that being the case, I think Seattle's mispriced. I think you could argue that Seattle and Connecticut should be flipped. I think Seattle should be the third best team in the league based on odds because we've seen Connecticut in the playoffs before, and it usually does not work out against either the Liberty or the Aces in this case. So for me, I see 14-1 as the cheapest price, as the longest price, I mean, for the Storm. I'm just quickly checking another book to see if there's anything else, but I think 14-1. Yeah, 14's the best I'm going to get. Give me 14-1 on the Storm.
I love it. 14-1 is an amazing price on the Storm. Oh my gosh, I'm about to bet that immediately. All right. Anything else for people before we get up out of here, Scott? Next time we're on here, we're going to be talking about games.
Yeah, we got games coming up, so stay tuned. I believe day one is the 14th, I think. I think it's May 14th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. May 14th. Tuesday, May 14th is opening tip in the W, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
We'll be here.
I can't wait. Hey, Scott, I have a large dog already that I think is going to win outright. It's crazy. We're going to save it, but it's crazy. Oh, man, it's going to be great. All right. At NBA SGPN at Underdog Fantasy promo code. Make sure you use that promo code at Underdog Fantasy and NBA SGPN. Make sure you give us a like on the YouTube video. If you're on Twitter, make sure you hop over to YouTube, give us a like on the video. And hey, we gotta boost the WNBA videos up. They don't do as good as the NBA ones. We're gonna get that better. So make sure you guys come in and chat. If you hear us, hey, we be live. We're gonna try to do night shows and get the plays out before the morning. So come hang out with us before you go to bed. You know, all that. Other than that, I have nothing else to say, nothing else to do. No other way of ending the podcast. Just gonna end it like this. We are out of here.